found the #1 internet site for irreverent, cool, and entertaining talk programming. It's LA Talk Radio. We say what we want.
Now, broadcasting
from the City of Angels, Los Angeles.
You're listening to The Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, only on LA Talk Radio.
That's right, it's the Sheena Metal Experience right here on LA Talk Radio. For more info on the show, latalkradio.com, SheenaMetalExperience.com. Don't forget to email me and let me know what you think of the show and to call and talk to us live. It's 818-602-4929. That's 818-602-4929. My guest all this hour is the Experience's resident rock and roll nurse, Suzanne Groff. She always comes on with great nursing advice and great advice about our health and the state of health in the country and the world, and it's so great to have her here. Welcome to the show, Suzanne, again.
Thank you, Sheena. It's always great to be a part of the experience, and I'm especially excited for today.
And those of you that listen to the Sheena Metal Experience, sometimes during the commercial breaks, will hear the PSA for premature ovarian failure. Your period is a vital sign, and I think I've had every rock and roll heavy metal person who's been in a horror film, sci-fi people, TV stars, all asking me if their period is a vital sign, and many of them are men.
Yeah, so that would be a no.
To which I reply, if you're a man and you're bleeding every month, then definitely that's a sign that you need to go to the doctor. Something is definitely wrong with you. So today, right now, is National Infertility Awareness Week, and we have straight out of the PSA and into your radios from the International Premature Ovarian Failure Association, founder and president Catherine Korp and Nicole Damberg, and of course the rock and roll nurse Suzanne Groff. All of them are board members for the International Premature Ovarian Failure Association, and also all of them are registered nurses. And how cool is that? It's so great to have you here, girls, and just say hi really quick to all the listening people. Catherine and Nicole, hi.
Hi, thanks for listening. Thanks for the experience.
It's great to have you both here. And let me start really quick, Catherine, with you, because you're the founder of the International Premature Ovarian Failure Association. What prompted you to start this organization and to really get behind the fight for awareness of premature ovarian failure?
I think like a lot of organizations that are sort of what we call kitchen table kind of groups, it's because you have the disorder. So I got diagnosed with this in my 30s and had no one to talk to. My friends were all having babies. My coworkers who were supervisors were all going through menopause. Who did I talk to? I couldn't talk to either group. I felt really left out, and I had to talk to somebody. I had to talk to somebody who was going through the same thing. I put a little ad in, can you believe this, my local paper, which is the Washington Post, which used to give you a free little ad on Tuesdays in the health section. 7 women responded to the ad. We met in a church adult education center, and this is pre-internet. So we just met. We had our name put into a magazine, Marie Claire. 100 people saw our phone number, called me up, and lo and behold, we went from local to national to international in a matter of months.
Wow. I mean, to get your first exposure, first in the Washington Post, which is huge, and then in Marie Claire, I mean, that's a lot of major exposure. I mean, people, you know, in their own industries go for years hoping to get that kind of exposure, so it really kind of took off like a shot.
Women wanted to talk to one another. This is a sort of secret disease. Women don't want to talk to other women about it, but when they find somebody who's got it, they open up.
Yeah, you know, I think there's that whole stigma. I know as a young person up until my mid-20s, I had endometriosis and eventually wound up losing half my system. And it was one of those things where, I was all like, hey, guess what? I have this. But people were like, no, it has to be called, female problems. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's not the 18th century anymore. I mean, I understand during the Victorian era that we talked about it like female problems. But I think that we've all amassed, especially with the Internet now, enough scientific knowledge that you should know that there's a difference in having premature ovarian failure, having endometriosis, having fibroids, having an ovarian cyst. You can't just lump it all into female problems. I mean, it's a lot of different things, and there's a lot of parts down there working and doing things and affecting our bodies, and I think it's important that people know exactly what they have and have support for that. Suzanne?
I think you're exactly right, but I don't think that the word is really out there quite yet. I teach a nursing program and decided to ask some students about, we were talking about hormones, and I asked them about estrogen, and I said, and they explained what it is, and I said, well, when do you run out of estrogen? And they said, when you go into menopause. And I said, well, what happens if you go into menopause? You run out of estrogen. And I could not get one person to answer me that there was going to be a loss of eggs.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think people even know what's going on in their own bodies, and I think that's kind of scary. And then I think a lot of times I was very fortunate, and I was telling Suzanne this before the show, to have a wonderful gynecologist who has been my gynecologist since I was 13, and who I can sit down and ask him about anything. It doesn't even have to be gynecological. I'll ask him, what's MRSA, or what's this, or how can I get, chronic fatigue syndrome, and he'll sit down and explain everything to me. But a lot of doctors have that attitude that, if you don't have anything wrong with you, you don't need to know about it. They don't want to take the time. They don't want to talk to you, and they don't want to explain things to you unless you have that condition at this moment. And even sometimes if you have the condition, they don't want to explain it to you. So I think that it's hard to find places to get awareness, and I think people are going to support groups now and to the Internet to try to find out what's going on with their bodies or what's going on with somebody that they know who has something they don't understand. And I think that's important. Nicole, how did you get involved in the International Premature Ovarian Failure Association?
Well, I participated in 2 research studies back east at the National Institutes of Health, and in the welcome packet there's information about the Premature Failure Association. And so I found out about the group that way, and I started volunteering and wanting to give back because that was a way for me to help educate myself and become more informed about POF. And I went to a conference, and that's where I met Suzanne and Catherine and the rest of the board, and volunteered to do another project, the POF Awareness Campaign, and did that. And then the next year, they invited me to participate on the board, and that was, I think, in 2004.
So once you're in, we never let you out. That's how it goes.
It's
right, exactly. I think they have to die.
Right. It's like the Hotel California, but with ovaries.
Right. Yeah, where's my walker?
Suzanne, what about you? How did you get involved, and how has it affected your life?
Wow. It's, POF really, I would have to say, changed the trajectory of my life in many ways that I couldn't have imagined at first. I was diagnosed in 86, also pre-internet. Where is my walker? Scary. But I found the very beginnings of the first website that was built, and I don't know, Catherine, did it start in 96? The website?
First website, I think, was in 97.
97, okay.
Wow, that was early.
I know there was
a grant from a nursing association.
Yeah, and so I found that page one day, the very first time I had Internet access at a job. I didn't know what Googling was or anything. And just one day, randomly, I typed in the 3 letters, and it came up. I was like, oh, my God, there's other people, and they have a group. What's this? So I started participating just in the email list. That was interesting. And then kind of went away from it for a little bit. And then somehow along the way, my memory's not so great, ended up within a local support group in Southern California. And as it turned out, the organization wanted to do a conference somewhere other than the East Coast, because they had always done their conferences on the East Coast because we're based in Virginia, the Virginia, D.C. area. And so it came to pass that Los Angeles was chosen, and I ended up co-chairing the first conference outside of the homeland, so to speak, out here in L.A., and after that one-year project, was invited to join the board. And they can't get rid of me now. And that was 2002 when we brought you in.
That's right. And I came in to do a little ovarian hilarity. And,
you were great.
I dragged my one ovary in and talked about how silly California is, which seems to be a topic that works, like, even if you're entertaining, off-world creatures like Martians or extraterrestrials. Everybody wants to hear about California. I think it's so important the way that you're gathering up people and people have a place to talk, because I think people get very scared, and I think the Internet is wonderful for people who don't have the kind of family situation like I did, where we could just talk about it. Some families, you don't talk about stuff, and anything that has to do with, like, your down there places, or if it's a mental thing, or anything that's not, socially acceptable, quote and unquote, to talk about in public. Some families don't want to talk about it out loud, and they don't want to sit down and discuss things. And I think maybe even with doctors, if you're in a very rural area or a remote area, a very religious area, maybe your doctor doesn't even really want to discuss it with you. It's just sort of a, sort of a look, it doesn't work, and don't ask me why, just take these pills. And I think a lot of women go through that all over the country and all over the world. Catherine, you were in your 30s, and Nicole, how old were you when you were diagnosed?
Well, I actually had symptoms start when I was 22. I was on birth control pills, and I would get hot flashes during the placebo week. And then it took me until I was 31 before I was diagnosed, and by that time, I was osteopenic. I think it affected all of my body systems. I cracked 5 teeth. My feet were my whole body seemed to be just breaking down at that point, and I was having hot flashes so severe, I would have to change my clothes about 3 times a day, and it was really annoying and very disruptive to my life. And finally went in, and unfortunately at the time, my physician just kept saying, "Oh, you don't have a period, that's okay, it's, nothing to worry about, you're too young." Well, this was going on for almost 5 years, and I learned the hard way that it's important to be an advocate for yourself and to partner with your healthcare provider, and I should have been more assertive looking back, but so I was officially diagnosed when I was 31, and I'm 40 now.
And how old were you, Suzanne?
I had symptoms at 18, too dumb to know what they were, too busy, too self-centered to pay attention to them, maybe, and diagnosed about 6 weeks before I turned 21. So I've lived my entire adult life. I'm actually the old-timer. I've had POF longer than anybody else on the board, at least known that I've had it.
She's had it longer than anyone else on the earth.
Yeah, that's it.
She is. So quick, Suzanne, since you're in the studio with me, and I know all of you are nurses, so you can all chime in on this, tell me exactly what the medical definition of premature ovarian failure is.
Premature ovarian failure is the cessation of ovarian function prior to the age of 40, which isn't menopause because that's not menopause. Menopause isn't prior to the age of 40. Do you want to add to that, Catherine?
Well, I guess we might say that you need to have 3 to 4 months without a menstrual cycle, and 2 FSHs, follicle-stimulating hormone tests, at least a month apart, that are greater than either 30 or 40, depending on which doctor you go to, is part of the really official diagnosis.
Yes, that's true.
Do you think that, Catherine, that through awareness of premature ovarian failure, we are also becoming aware, and illnesses like it, we're also becoming aware of the fact that how important the regulation of our hormones are as women? Because it's not just like, oh, you can't have a baby. It's also, like Nicole said, all of